I didn't see a lot of talk or negotiation between Ukraine and Russia directly. These folks were brothers. They were both part of USSR at some point. So they know each other better. So they should have really talked directly. Instead, what was happening was NATO was saying a lot of stuff. And really, if you ask me, NATO really shouldn't have said anything, because we know how what Putin thinks about NATO. We know what kind of relationship he has with NATO. The relationship is not so good. So it's kind of like I'm having a problem with you, and you go and invite somebody that I don't care for to mediate or to talk. How do you think I would feel under those circumstances? I would definitely want to show that whatever happens, I will come out stronger than you. So that's why I think that, but then again, I've always believed that if there is war and you want to blame only one side, that's like taking a very simplistic view of the problem. It takes two to tango. Both sides should have done much better to stop it. I think so.
Do African nations have the right to say this is their position in the world without necessarily be aligned with what Europe say, what Europe believe is their right or believe is wrong or right?
The thing is, nobody wants to see another country invaded by a stronger country. Nobody wants to see that, because I think that the world has come off far from what it used to be, where you had empires, where one empire would just go around the world conquering the other. That's how we got to colonization in Africa. So we Africans, we don't like that. We don't like the fact that a superpower went and invaded a smaller country. But having said that, I don't think Africa should take sides. We should be neutral. You know what we say back home, that if you do something against the gods, it's not in my place to come and fight for the gods. The gods know how to fight for themselves. Because if I step in and try to fight for the gods, the wrath of the gods may be directed against me when I didn't do anything. So really, we should be, these folks are strong enough to where at the end of it, they will come out fine. They will know how to settle each other. We have too many of our own issues to bother with in Africa. We should not be on the side of anybody. All we should be on the side of is, look, let there be peace. Let's stop the war. Whatever it takes to stop the war, let the war stop, and let this kind of thing not happen again. It's not in our place to assign faults to anybody. Okay?
All right, that is wise enough to stand by. And I'm not going to drag the line further than that. All right, now let's look at what can be the possible legal implication, because now we are talking of how to drag investment to Africa. Now, looking at what is happening in Ukraine, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, what do you think can be the possible legal implication in Africa in respect of foreign investment and things like that?
For one, when you talk about foreign investment, like direct foreign investment, just like we have pointed out at the beginning, at the end of this war, resources will be directed towards Ukraine, which is, to me, it's unfortunate and sad because, and I'm not saying sad because we don't need to rebuild Ukraine. I'm saying sad because for the past few years, direct foreign investment for Africa has actually been up and up. Africa, if you look at the tech industry, if you look at all industries, the Western world has begun to recognize Africa as the real next frontier, as the place where you can put money and get a lot more than you put, and as the place where your money and your investment will be stable. So we are really beginning to do well. But what will happen now is because there is need to rebuild Ukraine when this is over, people will now choose to invest in Ukraine and Africa will become second. So, you were talking about how does it affect? This is a direct effect on Africa, because when those investments start getting rechanneled from Africa to other places, I mean, all the Western world, they are already putting a lot of money into the Ukraine area. More money will even be needed to rebuild the whole thing. So in a way, Africa is losing. The question is, what is Africa doing and what should we be doing now to cushion ourselves? And again, this is where it's also a sad situation, because in our continent, we see large-scale mismanagement, we see large-scale corruption, we see large-scale fraud. Otherwise, what we should be doing now is, now that oil is at about $130 per barrel, $130 per barrel, we really should be cushioning ourselves. We really should be putting money aside to take care of ourselves, because it's going to come down again. After the war, oil will come down and investments will be driven away from us. I don't know if our leaders are doing it, but that's what they should be doing. Our leaders should also be looking for alternatives. Sit down now and do the math. What kind of direct investment are we getting from the various Western countries? Okay, by the time the war is over, what would be happening? What kind of direct investments should we be expecting? How do we now begin to make sure we bridge the gap? Where can we look for to bridge the gap? What resources can we come up with to convince these Western countries that, hey, even if you are putting 80% in Ukraine, still give us 20%. These are things that we should be doing now. Are we doing it? I'm not sure, because like I said, we have our own internal problems. And those problems, those are part of the reason why we are where we are today. In terms of legal implications, I think we're already seeing the legal implications. Every country in the world, especially the Western world, they are sanctioning Russia and all that stuff, because the deal is, when you go and invade a sovereign country, it becomes a problem for everybody, because everybody will be thinking it could be us next. See, that's the biggest issue that people are grappling with. It could be this country next. America could try to invade another country next. And that's really something that that needed to be stopped. That was part of the reason why United Nations was set up, so that these kind of things should never happen.
I like that part. It could be us. It could be us. I think that was one of the justification of Israel to develop a nuclear weapon, because of what they suffered from the war, the Second World War, because they need to defend themselves so that it should never happen again. Anyway, I'm going to take this argument to where it really supposed to be, which is Africa, about us. We appear that nothing have happened to us. We are the only people who have no justification to arm ourselves. This is very important, because now we are expecting that maybe foreign investment should come into Africa. But say they refuse to come to Africa, what are we going to do? Are we ready to do the necessary thing to protect ourselves, to defend ourselves, to provide food for ourselves? What if the war continues and food never comes from outside? Are we ready to survive? Are we going to perish?
You know that one thing that even economists will tell you, that unfortunately, most African countries and most African economies have defied normal economic logic. Yes, because ordinarily, right about now, we should be looking for alternative resources. they say that it's during difficult times that people become more sustainable. So if we follow the normal economic rules and normal economic logic, Africa should be able to come out stronger, because right about now, we should be looking for sustainable resources to continue ourselves without dependence on foreign countries. Look at what Europe is doing. They had been dependent on Russian gas. Now they are making alternative arrangements to get gas from somewhere else. See, when they put that arrangement in place, they will never need gas from Russia 100% like they used to need. You see, but are we doing it? Again, you go back to our leaders. Do we have leaders who are, I guess, up and up enough to sit down and say, look, let's do the math. Let's figure out how to fix things. Are our leaders even thinking ahead like 50 years from today? How many of our development plans go further to like 100 years from today? That's the question.